Hey guys, it's Adam from Lucid Pixel and welcome back. Now let me take you back about, 18 to 20 years or so ago. I'm not exactly sure and I'm probably really wrong because I have zero concept of time, but giving you a rough estimate, I'm a newly budded professional, meaning I have finished my education. I have completed my education in college and university in classical animation and fine arts, and I'm broke. I don't have a job, and I'm realizing very quickly at this point in my career that this education, this diploma that I have is not offering me anything in terms of employability. So I decide I need money. I had been looking for artistic jobs for quite some time, and I just needed money at this point, and I didn't care what I got. My standards are money. That's my standard. So I look in the newspaper because online job searches weren't really a thing as much at the time. So I'm looking in the newspaper in the classified section, and I see that they're looking for telephone surveys. And I had not yet, I don't think at that point, worked in phone customer service, because I had a few jobs where I'd worked in phone customer service and stuff like that, but not at that point. This was kind of like my entryway into this, and it was a company downtown that did phone surveys. Now, phone surveys is kind of like telemarketing without actually asking for money. So basically, you're soliciting people for questions, for answers to questions, and it's just, different companies are call up the company that I'm working for and ask us to ask random questions on certain topics like real estate or fitness or nutrition or whatever. It can be a wide range of different things. I remember even doing one that included Disney in the title. I did a bunch of them at that point. But in any case, little interview, they talk to me to see, what my speaking voice is like, and they give me a script to read and stuff. And, the bar is pretty low, so I get hired. And they take me into the office where I'd be working in, or at least the room, which was a rather small, congested room with these tiny little, 2.5 by 3 foot cubicles that are all lined up along the wall, where there's a bunch of people, and there's basically just a telephone and a headset in each one of these little nooks in the wall. And they've crammed about 50, 60 people into this tiny little cramped room to do these phone surveys. And in the middle is kind of this island where the boss, a guy I really liked, by the way, a guy who I'd still hang out with him for this day if I met him. He was a really fun guy. He was fun to work with. And he'd kind of supervise, listen in on calls, offer tips, all that kind of stuff, right? And he was kind of like he was really like you could picture him being a guy who grew up listening to a lot of Guns N' Roses and Poison and stuff. He had the long hair and the real glam rock kind of personality. He was really funny. And so we'd sit down and they'd give us a script. And basically it was cold calling. And we would just have this headset on, and every time the phone would beep, we'd hear this beep in the headset. We would wait for the person to answer the phone, and then we'd start our spiel, and we would talk them through this questionnaire, if we could get them to answer the questions. That's the big challenge of the job. And the way I'd been instructed to do this was to speak as quickly as possible and jump right into the questions as quickly as possible, to not give people a chance to know what the hell's going on. So they're kind of caught into it before they realize that they're being harassed with phone questions. And to this day, I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. I remember it was, I'll try to avoid saying the name because it's kind of emblazoned in my psyche, but it was like, hi, my name is Adam Duff. I'm calling from a company called blah, blah, blah. We're currently conducting a survey among people in your area. I was wondering if you had a couple of moments it shouldn't only take about 5 minutes to answer some questions if you don't mind. The first question is blah, 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 bang, bang, bang. And you immediately throw right into them. And you have to talk that fast. Now, my boss, the supervisor, had held the company record, and he was very often the one who would win the daily prize, because they would give the prize to the person who had the highest number of completed surveys that day. And I think his top record was like 27, but the daily average was around 15 to 20, which might seem okay, but when you realize the fact that you'd make about 500 or 600 of these cold calls a day, that's pretty pathetic, right? The percentage of people who would not hang up in your face was, the odds basically weren't stacked in your favor with regards to that. So, but I followed the script as far as the script went, and the phone would beep, I'd say my spiel, they'd hang up in my face. The phone would beep, I'd say my spiel, they'd hang up in my face. I'd hear the beep, I'd say my spiel, they'd hang up in my face. Sometimes they would yell expletives at me. They'd tell me to go F myself. They would, slam the thing. They would yell at me for being inconsiderate. It's dinner time and I'm eating with my family and blah, blah, whatever. When you do it 700 times a day, the humanity of it is quickly lost. And after about 2-3 days of doing this, I thought to myself, you know what? I don't have any particular loyalty to this company. Like, if you fire me today, I don't give a rat's ass. Like, this is bottom of the barrel job as far as that goes. I know that the moment I get a job in art, I'm gone. So I decided, if I have to subject myself to this kind of a routine, I might as well take control of it. I might as well trust my instincts as a human being and do it my way. There were certain rules and certain protocol. The protocol was to speak fast and include blah, blah, blah information. But it's a public company with a public phone number, and there's nothing hidden about it. As far as I knew, there was nothing illegal about the operation. They were just asking questions. They weren't trying to sell anything. So I decided to take it into my own hands and do it my own way. And I come into work the third or fourth day, and knowing that my boss is expecting me to be a fast talker, and I decide to slow everything down to a snail's pace. Be completely transparent about my name, my location, and the fact that the person who's on the other end of the line, whoever I'm speaking to, has the right to not answer a damn question if they don't feel like it. You are doing me a favor. If you feel uncomfortable, that's fine. So the phone beeps, and I say, hi. And the other person at the other end of the line goes, hi. And I said, my name is Adam Duff. Slowly and clearly. And they laughingly say, hi, Adam Duff. And I said, I'm calling from a company called blah, blah, blah. And we're currently conducting a survey among people in your area. And it usually only takes about 15-20 minutes, tops. And I said, if there's any questions you don't feel comfortable with, let me know. And I said, if you want to do a little bit more research on the company, let me know. I'll give you our phone number. You can look it up and all that kind of stuff. But feel free to let me know if there's anything you don't feel like answering. But they're usually not very invasive questions, so just let me know. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. First one, got it. Second one, got it. Third one, completed survey. Fourth, fifth, sixth one hung up in my face. Shit. Seventh, eighth, ninth. Before you know it, I'm about an hour and a half into my shift, and I've already beaten my boss's best record. I've already beaten it. And my boss knows this. And he's kind of looking a little bit uncomfortable. Now, like I said, he's not a bad guy, but he's sitting there going, he's really kind of bending the rules here. My boss might have a problem with this, but like I said, I don't really care. I'm going to do this my way. If I have to do a job like this, I'm going to do it in a way that feels right to me. I took a risk. I could have gotten fired for that. I mean, my boss tells me to do something and I say, no, I'm going to do it my own way. That's pretty arrogant of me, but I did it anyways. By the end of the day, I'd completed about 50, 60 surveys. And that was just the beginning. That was just the tip of the iceberg. As the weeks went by, yes, they didn't fire me. As the weeks went by, my record just kept getting higher and higher and higher. And I was the only one who had the nerve to break the rules. I even had my boss sit down with me on numerous occasions and said, Adam, you really can't do it like that. It's not the way it works. Like, you can't give people the company phone number. And I said, why not? It's in the phone book. They can look it up themselves. I know, Adam, but you just can't. And I said, why not? Give me a valid reason. Am I doing anything wrong? And I said, well, technically you're not, Adam, but, and I said, your best record was 27. So far, my best record is 90. So I think your company's going to be quite pleased with my performance, wouldn't you? I said, but don't worry. If they offer me a supervision job, I'm not going to take it. I'm not interested in it. It's yours to keep. And I'll let them know what a wonderful supervisor you are to work for. But I've decided that this is the way I'm going to do it because I feel that I'm doing so in the most humane way possible, and it's making my job a lot more pleasant because I personally was getting very demotivated and depressed having people slamming the phone and calling me names. I was getting sick of it, and I knew I was doing it wrong. I was the only one who continued to do it that way, and sure enough, when there was a prize to be won, everybody just laughed and said, give it to Adam. Adam got it. It was a lesson to me that day. It was a lesson that I could only have learned because I was working in a job that I didn't feel a dependency on. I didn't have kids depending on me. I didn't have a mortgage to pay. I was just some guy right out of school who didn't have anything to lose, anything substantial to lose at that particular point. So I took my chances. And I won for taking my chances. Fast forward to another point that I'm broke. Yes, I've been broke quite a few times. And I've told this story on my channel in the past. I had not a penny to my name, literally not a penny to my name. And again, I was struggling to find a way to find work. So the first time in my life I decided to take matters into my own hands. I was a member of the swing and jive dance community in Montreal, and I thought to myself, well, what would it take for me to start my own venue? And I went from that concept, that idea in my head. I found a location in Montreal West where I lived, found a location, found out how much it would cost me to rent a hall at a curling club in Montreal West for every Saturday for a couple of hours for a certain period of time, and did all my own advertising, hooked up and contacted the web host of Swing in Montreal. It's still around. That website still exists. I believe it's run by the Swinging Air Force and Cat's Corner. And I got in touch with a friend of mine who I just happened to know from working at the Bronfman Jewish Educational Center. I did CD-ROMs for kids, teaching kids how to speak Hebrew. I learned a little bit of Hebrew in the process too. And I got in touch with him because he was the sound technician for a lot of the Jewish community, and we hooked up together. He was the sound guy, provided the sound equipment. I got the hall, and within a month tops, I opened the doors to a swing dance club, and everybody got paid. Everybody always got paid, and people loved it. And it was incidentally also where I met my girlfriend, the girlfriend who's also now the mother of two of my kids. Okay? So I took a chance. I listened to myself. I trusted my gut. Now, am I saying that like I have a gift for business? Am I saying that I'm some entrepreneur? To be honest with you, I'm very anti-business. To be honest with you, I'm very anti-entrepreneur. It's amazing how many times people have pushed books or methods on me on how to build your business and how to be rich, how to make it rich, how to build a business and how to sustain it, and how to turn garbage into gold. All this nonsense. I don't really give a crap about any of that stuff. That's just somebody trying to make money off of telling me how to make money, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe there's any book or seminar or guru out there that can teach you how to be rich. What I realized, the quality that I had, and the quality that I argue most everybody on this channel listening to me today has, is creativity. I kept myself open. I kept my mind open to ideas. But the ideas I kept my mind open to were ideas driven by necessity and very often by frustration. The frustration of poverty, the frustration of unfairness, the frustration of lack of resources, something. And I decided that instead of sitting around and waiting for people to fill that hole for me, I decided to fill it myself. And honest to God, if anybody said, Adam, how do you build a business? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. How did you start Lucid Pixel? Like my full-time job now, you know, that I've been doing since 2015. Still going strong. That kind of flies in the face of every piece of practical business advice I ever got in my life. People saying, oh, it takes 2 to 3 years to build a business, and you know the struggles, and then if you're not building it this way, it's going to fall flat on your face, and you got to blah, blah, blah. I haven't done any of that crap. My business pretty much kicked right off the ground right away. It was almost an immediate success. Not because I'm great at business. I am not great at business. I'm just a guy who saw that there was something about the industry of education that frustrated me. I knew that I was a very passionate teacher. I knew that I was very frustrated with what I had to go through to find success in my life, and I wanted to shortcut that for other people. I wanted to get information to other people that I felt was in very short supply and very difficult to attain, and in very obscure, hidden locations in the industry that I just didn't seem to be a part of. And I decided once I finally did get that access to open the floodgates and give that access to the rest of the world. That's really what my main focus was to do. Whether or not it turned out to be a successful business model or not, I had no idea. But I just decided to fill that hole myself. I didn't wait for somebody else to do it for me. I did it myself. When I was a part of any system that I found was fundamentally flawed in some way, without any logical cause for it, apart from just being the norm of what the rest of society had done up until that point, I always just questioned it. In a way that I'm sure many of you have too. I'm sure you look at the state of politics. I'm sure you look at the state of, of medicine and equality and racism. I'm sure you look at all of these different situations in life and you just sit there going, or climate change, there's a good one, and think to yourself, what the fuck is wrong with these people? What the fuck is wrong with this world? Why am I sitting here watching the lowest common denominator of humanity running countries? What the fuck? And it's not just America. I'm not just talking about that twat in the White House right now, that complete con artist, fraud, douchebag in the White House. I'm talking about politics in general. It's just, it's amazing. I teach students around the whole world, and I think to myself, good God, how do you feel about the state of politics in your country? And everybody always goes, oh, it's a shit show. It's just a mess. It's a mess everywhere. Well, I'm not a politician. I'm not involved in politics. But if I was involved in politics, my attitude about it would be, screw what's been done so far. Forget about this whole structure. You have to do this, and you have to know this person, and you have to be affiliated with that, and you have to do this. No. Forget whatever system exists right now is garbage. It has been, and it always will be garbage. It is corrupted, and it is broken. Forget about that. How can I, in the most humane and the most effective way possible, create a new structure? And you might be thinking to yourself, holy shit. That's a bit arrogant. That's a bit egotistical of you to think you can take on the structure of government, to take on the structure of humanity. Well, somebody did many, many hundreds of years ago, and look where we are today. That domino effect, somebody triggered a domino effect that led to the legal structure that it is today. Like Steve Jobs said, every single thing in the world that you see today, no matter how big or small, has been created by people who are no more remarkable or intelligent than yourself. Humanity is constructed by us, the people. It's constructed by us as living organic organisms that organize ourselves together, that collaborate together to create great things. I cannot build a skyscraper myself, but I'm sure if I sat down with some professionals, somebody who's learned about concrete, somebody's learned about how to build proper foundations, and somebody who's learned how to forge the metal, and somebody who's learned how to deal with air pressure and air velocity to help to mitigate the forces of air and glass and all these things. Eventually, I can attain enough knowledge and resource to be able to understand how that building was put up. And if it's my intention and my desire, can collaborate and become a part of just such a thing. And it'll make perfect sense to me. The world is not created by people who just wait for that phone to beep and follow the script that everybody else has told you to do, that your boss, why? Because your boss got 27 surveys, that means he's the god of phone surveys. We tend to put a cap on success because we look at the greatest achievements of our time and think that that's the best that's ever going to be done. And the reality is, that's just a drop in the bucket on what your potential is. But you ignore your own potential because you're so concerned on what other people have accomplished. You're focused on other people's potential and not your own. One of the best pieces of advice I could ever give you with regards to building your brand and being a professional is start ignoring how popular other people are. I'll tell you what I mean by that. One of the things, being a YouTuber who's done like tech reviews and stuff like that, like art tech or, different products, sometimes I'll do things off the beaten path and decide to do some review for headphones or microphones or something like that, or cameras or anything. My YouTube channel is not a tech channel, so my intention is not to be a big tech YouTuber. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to push it in that direction because that's not my forte. That's for guys like Brad Colbo that have been doing this for years and are far more proficient at it. But I do it anyways. But one of the things that gets on my nerves when I watch YouTubers, or at least one of the things that I can see, is how many tech YouTubers or aspiring tech YouTubers, young and budding YouTube channels, try to follow the same formula that every successful tech YouTuber follows, like Hardware Canucks or John Morrison or Marcus Brownlee or any of these guys, right? The ones, the Team Crispy. Everybody tries to follow in their shoes. They try to design and formulate their camera moves and their lighting and their background music and their logo stings and the way they talk and the way they hold items up to the camera and the way they edit their videos to be just like them. And it's remarkable how annoying it is to watch them. Not because I'm being overly judgmental, just because I realize how they're never ever going to get anywhere by trying to follow in the footsteps of what's already been done. The reason why Marquez is so successful is because he was one of the first guys to do it that way. If you look at Marquez's early videos, they were very low budget. He just sat at his desk and held a pair of headphones. Like if you look at his old reviews for like the Audio-Technica M50Xs, you're going back 5-6 years ago, and it's so low budget compared to what he's doing today, where he's sitting down with, with some of the biggest names in the industry. It's ridiculous, the jump he's made from then to now. But the reason he's there now is because he started something when nobody else did. He saw a hole in the industry and filled it when the hole existed. But now the hole is overflowing. Everybody wants to do it the same way. So, yesterday I was looking up reviews for different keychains, and there were these guys that did this collab for different keychain accessories with like six different tech YouTuber channels, and every one of them made me cringe. Because I'm sitting there going, oh, it's a bunch of guys trying to sound like Marquez. It's driving me nuts. It's just, oh my God, just be yourself. But they wanted to, they were fantasizing about being the next Marquez. They wanted to be the next MKBHD. That's what they wanted to be. And as such, they never will be. And if you want to be the next big famous artist, out there. You want to be the next big famous business entrepreneur. Whatever it is that you create, if creating your own brand and creating your own business and making for a name for yourself, if that's your intention and if that's what you truly desire, it has to come from an authentic place. And to be for it to come from an authentic place, you have to let go of the glamour, the idea of the glamour of what it means to be popular, and instead focus on what truly matters to you and come from a place of authenticity. Come from a place of authenticity. Be yourself. Talk about things that truly do honestly matter to you. Take it from an angle that is unique to you. Were you raised in some small little town in some no man's land in Germany somewhere, where a population of 6? Well, your community, your upbringing, what matters to you, the holes in your life are holes that you can fill yourself. And you can speak to that particular community of people that can relate to that. That's where you build a name for yourself. My school was not built on great entrepreneurship. It wasn't built on my business savvy. I'm very anti-business savvy. I'm very anti-money making. It's never been my intention. If I was trying to build my school based on the desire to make money, it would have died before it even started. But the reason why it continues to exist today, and the reason why this passion of mine, my teaching, my online teaching passion, and my purpose continues to grow is because I've never forgotten why it is that I made it in the first place. And I keep that in the back of my head like a mantra. It is ever present, and my purpose grows every single day, deeper and deeper. And the more involved I get into it, the more students I teach, the more I study the industry on a personal level, not a professional level. I'm not about competition whatsoever. I couldn't give a rat's ass. The more it matters to me, the more it means something to me, because I've got a whole lifetime of frustration, of being broke, of working these phone surveys, of dealing with shit bosses, with dealing with inaccessible information where I just didn't know where to turn to get the answers I was looking for, to these elitist AAA game company, glass ceiling bullshit organizations, or teaching institutions that believe by pumping people with endless quantities of volume rather than actually teaching them content is a replacement for a proper education. Just throwing endless quantities of homework at people does not make you a good teacher. It makes you a lazy teacher. Yes, people will improve by producing a lot, but you're not doing what you're paid to do. You're paid to give people information. You're paid to answer questions. You're paid to teach. And I'm sick of that personally. I'm sick of that attitude. And I want to be somebody who shows these people up and shows up these organizations, and who does not allow people to get away with exploiting people and putting people in debt. I've spoken about this many times. This is something I am really passionate about, and if you get me started on it, I won't be able to shut up about it. That is what drives the decisions that I make. It's not my desire to build a business. You will know the day money gets the better of me and I lose sight of my purpose. When all of a sudden, for some strange, unforeseen reason, you stop giving a shit about everything that I say. Somehow the depth, the meaning, the weight of my words won't have the same impact anymore. Because you'll be able to tell that everything that I'm saying is overshadowed by my desire to sell my brand and to make money from it. You'll be able to tell. You know, everything that happens with Apple, Apple versus Microsoft, for instance, or Apple versus Samsung, or whatever the case might be. I have a PC. I personally prefer PC's desktop computers because I'm a gamer. And you can't get shit for games on Steam for Macs. Not yet. But as stupid and silly as it might seem, and you're perfectly welcome to argue with me as much as you want, but I believe in Apple. It's a really stupid thing to say, but I do believe in Apple. For a very similar reason why many other people out there believe in Apple. And when they'd have their keynotes, I know why people get excited. I know why people get excited to watch Apple keynotes. But then when you watch the Samsung keynote or the Xbox keynote or whatever other keynote, why I roll my eyes and laugh at them. Because when Apple gets up in front of the crowd, they're not selling you a product. They're selling you a belief. And yes, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. They're a huge, huge, huge company that makes a ton of money. And yes, they're driven by sales. We all get that. But at their core, the head of the fish of Apple, when it was Steve Jobs and still what it is today, even after Steve Jobs, has not lost sight of its core purpose. Yes, there are scars. Yes, Steve Jobs is gone. And yes, sometimes they come out with ideas or products that might seem a little bit anti-consumer. I get that. And when they screw up, they're called up on it. But at their core, they still are Apple. And when I watch their pitch, when I watch their keynote, when I watch them talk about their product, I can feel the authenticity. But when you watch another company come on, you watch the Samsung company come up and they talk about their product, they are desperately trying to convince you on why it's worth spending your money on their product. That's really what their main intention is. They're just trying to beat the competition by offering better tech specs. Their tech specs can be 10 times better than anything Apple produces. But they're not going to beat them if that's their intention, because they don't have at their core the desire to improve the world on a spiritual level. Their desire is to satisfy their investors and to make the largest amount of money humanly possible. They are heartless, soulless corporations, period, with nothing else backing them up. And that resonates into their product. Apple wouldn't be where they are today if their intention was only to make money. And when Steve Jobs did all those revolutionary commercials, and when he was sacked in the whole history of Steve Jobs and all the emotion that went behind it and what a douchebag of a boss he was, I don't believe he was a douchebag boss. I believe that man was so completely and utterly committed and passionate about the job he did. I confided I was a dick of a father, I will say that. But as far as his businessman was concerned, he was so utterly serious about the product that he produced. It was so important for him for it to be exactly on a spiritual and personal level what that product needed to be, that resonated into the work that he produced, and he didn't give a rat's ass how that affected people around him. He wanted to make sure that he was governed by that emotion, that human emotion. And that human emotion is what resides in their pitches. Whether they're a multi-billion-dollar company or whether it's just a mom-and-pop startup shop, with a total clientele of 4, that heart resides. And that's what needs to be at the foundation of anything that you produce. Because there's something really cool about being human. Even though there's millions and millions and millions of us all over this planet, every single one of us have desires that come from a very authentic place. We all have emotions and feelings and struggles that we deal with every single day that come from a very authentic place. And it's that authentic place that you need to identify with. You don't want to be seduced by the glamour and the fame of those who have already made big names for themselves. You want to always approach your audience from the most authentic place possible. That is, after all, at the core of what makes us artists, isn't it? It's our ability to reach deep down inside ourselves and find something very pure, very authentic, very real, and present that to our audience. And that's one of the reasons why I honestly feel that communicating this thought, this lesson, this idea with you, artists, fellow artists, is so incredibly important. Because it's my very strong belief that us artists are going to be the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. We are the creators. We are the people who have dedicated our lives to authenticity. And it's time for these bureaucrats, it's time for these money-hungry, global warming denier, gun-toting, con artist businesses and businessmen and businesswomen to get washed out with the tide and to be replaced with something a lot more authentic. And it's going to require us creative people to start brainstorming these and start building them from the ground up with a simple little idea that came out of little old you's head that you cultivate and plant in the ground as a seed that's going to lead to something so much bigger than you. When I started my online mentorship back in 2015, and when Anthony Jones started Robotpencil, and when Noah Bradley started the art camp, and when Tyler Edlin started his mentorship, and when Chris Oatley started his academy, and when Bobby Chu started Schoolism, when all of these people started their businesses, it was just a little stupid little idea in the back of their head, and look where they are today. And when I started my little business, and Bobby started his little business, and Noah started his little business, when we joined together as a community, although we run our own separate businesses, for now, separately, but when we started our own little things, little did we know that one day this would turn out to be a community. A community of learning that you, as an artist on the internet today, have now access to a world of resources that all of us combined could never have fathomed could ever exist. But here we are. I play my little part, and every other artist on the platform plays their little part. And you know what? One day you'll be playing your part too. Because you might look at something that I produce. You might look at my mentorship. And in your creative way, you might say, I love what Adam does, but there's something missing there. There's a hole there that needs to be filled. Then that's one of the things that gets on my nerves. So instead of sitting there and saying, you know what, Adam, you suck, instead say, no, I'm going to fill that hole for him. I'm going to fill the hole that I feel needs to be filled, so that the industry as a whole will be more complete. And you will be able to fill it in a way that's so unique to you that nobody else can take that away from you. Because only you truly know what you desire. You understand that necessity more than anybody in the world does. And you'll fill it yourself. And maybe it might not even be directly art related. Maybe it'll be a derivative of art. Maybe it might branch out from digital painting or fantasy art and be something slightly outside of the realm, but something that us digital painters desperately need to know and desperately need to find. So you're going to have to try to figure out a creative way to try to integrate that into the conversation of digital painting. I can, right off the top of my head, just by thinking about some of the conversations I've had with some of my students lately, I can think of 5 that would be mind-blowing, but I'll leave it to them to develop that themselves. So what I want to share with you today is, if you don't like fast-talking people, slow yourself down. If you're frustrated with something, don't complain about it. Fix it. Be the person to fill the hole, instead of being the person who's standing around the hole complaining that you keep getting flat tires because of it. You be the one to fill that hole, but fill it in a way that it never undoes. Fix it for good. Change the formula. Use your creative ability to create something that nobody else has ever seen before. And when you can be a pioneer like that, the business will make itself. The success will find itself. And the money will find itself too. All right? So, once again, thank you very much for joining me, as always. And with that said, I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and happy painting. Take care.